Hello Opinion members, Jacky Blisson here, Master of Wine, and welcome to your Master's Case tasting. So we are tasting from cellar 303, Rhone Valley, and some Burgundy and Champagne. So as you know, the Master's Case this time is dedicated to the Vignérons Ardéchois. Vignérons Ardéchois is a cooperative, it's a collective of 14 like-minded producers in the southern Ardèche area. They decided in the late 1960s to work together and share resources because these are obviously quite costly investments. And so today they have a huge range of vineyards on different terroirs, mainly in the Ardèche area. So this is just if we're looking in the Rhone Valley between Valence and Avignon. We are on the west in rolling hills down to the foothills of some large mountains. So quite diverse topography, diverse types of soils, a warm, dry Mediterranean climate. And one factor that's really important to mention when we talk about the southern Ardèche is the Mistral, and throughout all of the Rhone Valley really. So the Mistral is this really intense cold wind that whips down following the corridor of the Rhone River. And it acts as basically a massive air conditioner, tempering some of the extremes of heat in the area because it's quite a cool wind, but also a hair dryer practically because it basically has that impact on the grapes. After rains, it'll dry out the vineyards really quickly, so there's less chance of rot, things like mildew and odium really taking hold in the vineyard. So very beneficial climate for grape growing. So we have 3 wines from Vignérons Ardéchois with us today in this wonderful Master's Case. And it's a great case, I find, because you have this lovely white, floral, perfumed, but still quite fresh white wine. And then you have 2 different styles of red wine. So this is perfect. You can open up all 3 and have a great meal with some friends. Hopefully, maybe you're watching this with some friends. You're gonna cook some of these cool recipes in the cellar. So let's start with the first wine. So obviously we're gonna start with our white, our Viognier, and this is the Grès du Trias. So Grès means sandstone. Sandstone soils, which are quite light in color, so it would reflect all the heat and the light back into the vineyards to help with ripening. And it's often quite a light, easy to work soil, and it can really allow the vines to dig deep into these soils. So Viognier, as you may know, is a very aromatic floral grape variety. And it's really important to plant it in the right areas because it can, in an overly hot area, lose its acidity and be a little bit flat. So first of all, the color is just this lovely, brilliant, pale lemon color, quite classic for a young Viognier. So really hallmark signature aromas for Viognier. You get all that lovely peach and apricot, those white floral notes, hints of spice, very tempting perfumed nose. On the palate, as I was saying before, you need that acidity to balance that big personality the Viognier has, and it's here. You have a nice, fresh, balanced acidity. You have quite a rounded, almost sort of an oily, and I don't mean that in a negative way, but Viognier often has this almost slightly oily texture to it, which really helps diffuse the flavors all through the palate. It's very rounded, very smooth. And often, and this is the case here, there's just a teeny touch of astringency on the finish, a little hint of bitterness that actually makes you salivate, makes the wine quite refreshing and very food friendly. So Viognier is an easy grape, I find, an easy white grape when there's that nice acidity to pair with, because it goes really well with spicy dishes, not crazy spicy, but lightly spicy dishes, anything Asian, anything Indian, anything along those lines where you have mild to moderate spice. The roundness, the exuberance, the fruitiness of Viognier will go really well there. I think they suggest here a crayfish gratin. That could be really nice too. Anything white fish, chicken will go really well with Viognier as well. So a lovely first wine. Very classic for the grape variety, for the region. I think that's really well done. And you can find the next vintage of this Viognier coming up in cellar 313. So moving on to the next wine, we have Esprit de Noé, and this is a Cabernet Grenache, really cool label here, this bright red label. And so this is quite an interesting blend because Cabernet Sauvignon, as you know, can be very firm, very tannic, and Grenache is more red fruited, softer, rounder. So they can really be quite complementary. The Cabernet bringing that backbone, that structure, and the Grenache bringing the sort of plump, juicy, fruity notion to the wine. So quite a dark color here. Got sort of a dark ruby. Grenache tends to be a little bit paler, but Cabernet obviously dominating here, giving you a darker color, ruby in hue. And then on the nose, nice balance I find of the two. You get all that dark fruit, those plum cassis notes that are very common to Cabernet, but I find you also get hints of cherry, hints of red fruit that are common to the Grenache, and hints of macerated plum, a little bit of spice. Really pretty open nose. On the palate, still a very youthful wine, bright acidity, quite smooth and broad through the mid palate, but you've got a little bit of firmness, a hint of sort of almost like dark chocolate cocoa style bitterness on the finish, but that I find really pleasant because again, that slight bitterness, when it's not overpowering, when it's not drying, can be really, really food friendly. It makes the wine cut through richness in dishes in a really nice way. So this wine, I think this wine has the depth and the body to pair with big, hearty meals, but is also soft enough and approachable enough now that you could also pair it with lighter meats, with sweet potato even dishes would be nice here. Anything with mushrooms, wild mushrooms could be good. There's quite an array of dishes I think that would pair well here. And this is a wine I would serve very slightly chilled, 10, 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes in the fridge tops. It's drinking really well right now. So if we move on to our third and final wine of this tasting, it is a classic grape for the Rhone Valley Syrah. This is 100% Syrah, the Basalte du Coiron. And Basalte, of course, is a soil type that comes from, is the product of lava flows, cooling of lava flows. And these volcanic soils are said to give a firm mineral touch to the wines and a really juicy vibrancy of fruit, according to the producers who grow on these basaltic volcanic soils. So if you look at the color here, again, quite deep in color, very youthful. So you're getting almost a purplish fuchsia sort of a hue around the rim. That's really the youth of the wine. This is a 2022 vintage. Deep, dark, profound color, typical for Syrah. And then on the nose, this is a really classic Syrah nose. I'm getting all kinds of black fruit, black currant, black cherry, plum, all of those, blackberry even. I've got hints of black olive, tapinade. These are things you often get on Syrah that are nice, like hints of pepper, hints of violet. It's got quite a complex nose, which is interesting. On the palate, quite refreshing, but this is a firm, this is Syrah in its youth, can be quite firm. It's got quite chiseled tannins. They're not overpowering, but they're definitely giving structure, giving weight to the wine. Full-bodied, and this is a wine that I would either cellar for a year or two just to really let it knit together, or I might even decant this wine, serve it slightly chilled, a little bit less so than the last wine, but slightly chilled. And decant it maybe for half an hour before serving, and maybe something a little bit heartier. The tannins here would work really well with hearty meat type dishes because the tannin will really cut through the protein of the meat and soften it, and vice versa. They work really well together. Or if you're doing a vegetarian dish, definitely something black beans or lentils or some kind of heartier vegetarian dish. You don't want something too soft, too smooth. And I wouldn't really use anything too spicy here. Milder flavors would work well. Anything with sort of Provençal style herbs. There's some slight wild herb notes on the palate here. That would work really nicely as well. So 3 wines from the Vignérons Ardéchois. Taste them, let me know what you think. If you want to write into us afterwards, ask additional questions, or even just give us your impressions, we'd love to hear from you. And in the meantime, bonne dégustation, enjoy your tasting.